Hey, I'm Sam.
And I'm Dane.
We shoot the shit about hockey before, during, and after the game.
But Puck Talk starts now.
Welcome to Puck Talk. I'm Sam.
And I'm Dane.
And Dane, I gotta call you out. First things first. This is an interesting time to schedule a podcast. This is 7:30 on Monday, aka when the Leafs are playing the Boston Bruins, their most important game of the season, I'd say. So,
Yeah. Why? Tell us. Why is it so important?
Well, I would say because they are 3 points between each other, and the Leafs have a game in hand. And if the Leafs can win this game in regulation, that's going to cause a 1 point difference and with the Leafs in a game with a game in hand. So they're going to be so close to getting that third seed in the Atlantic, and then it's a Canadian matchup in the first round.
Yeah,
it's a Canadian matchup in the first round.
It's crazy when you look at the standings right now. Like it's shaping up to a pretty tight race. It's crazy to think that between Tampa, New York Islanders, the Leafs, and Boston, two of those teams aren't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Who knows at this point? Every game, that's the thing, because there's such a small window there. Every single game matters, especially when they're playing each other. I think the Leafs play Tampa again before the season's over. There's a lot. Hey, Instagram. Yeah, so there's a lot of variability, and every game means so much. It really does. Like people say that a lot. It's almost cliche to say, but this really, I feel like tonight's game is going to determine whether or not the Leafs have any shot at all of being in that top 3 Atlantic seeds or not.
When you get down to these like last few games, it's tricky though, because you go from worrying about earlier in the season you're going for the 2 points, but when you start having those divisional matchups, with 8 games left, those can be 4-point games when you really think about it. If it's against the opponent, like. We'll get more into it later with the Habs and Ottawa Senators series this weekend. But yeah, like the closer we get to the end of the season, the more points, the more it's stupid to say, but the points are worth more.
It's a good time to watch hockey. It's almost playoff hockey at this point with what's on the line.
Yeah.
I think we should jump right into what's going on in hockey today. That Matthew Tkachuk elbow. Whew, what a doozy. That was brutal. I can't believe that. That's like, just flagrant, intentional.
And for being a rookie, he plays a really rough style of game. Like, it's rare to see someone. He's 18 years old. Mm-hmm. It's rare to see someone like that come into the league and play with such. I'm gonna say intensity, but Drew Doughty fans might not agree with that. Do you want to read the quote?
Sure. Yeah, I'll read this quote here. So. This is Drew Doughty talking about getting that elbow. And his response. He said, "He's a pretty dirty player, that kid. To be a rookie and play like that is a little surprising. I don't know exactly what happened because I got hit in the head."
That's Drew Doughty's like sass talking.
Oh, that's good. "But I thought he elbowed me. I can't tell you for sure, so I'm not really going to say if I think anything should happen. But whatever it was, it hurt pretty bad. And it's going to hurt for a little bit."
So a little bit of shade being thrown.
That is a great quote. That is sass right there.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Sass for sure.
Oh.
At this point, that when we're recording this, it hasn't been decided. I mean, there is a hearing happening today.
What do you think he's going to get?
I think he might get 2 games.
2? It was so flagrantly I would say they got to. Although, I guess for the NHL, it's a high-risk situation because now these games mean so much to the Flames that it's like, do we penalize him? They might go easier on him because of the stakes.
And I guess he is he's had a pretty rough season, but he is a rookie still. It's not like he's a crazy repeat offender. Like, it's different him doing it to like Steve Ott or anyone with a history of that kind of thing. Yeah,
and I guess ultimately, I don't know what Doughty's status is. Is he relatively okay? Is day to day?
Yeah, I think. I think he's just kind of bruised. I don't see Drew Doughty not playing when LA Kings are looking
outside, in the thick of that playoff race.
There's no way they.
No, that's totally true. So maybe that's right. I would go a little higher. I might say 3 or 4 games, but just because of the nature of how intentionally dirty that was.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It's like it's that time of year, It's when, the pace of game is really interesting right now because we're so close to playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you saw it in Ottawa and Montreal this weekend a little bit where, the game starts pretty rough and, physical.
Right.
And the refs let it go. You see those shoves after the whistles, and it's all about that kind of tone that the refs set from the very first puck drop.
Which is a playoff tone.
Totally.
That's how they
Which I love.
ref the
I really,
playoffs.
really like. And I think it's great as long as, the refs are consistent, the refs are adequately, officiating both sides to the same degree. Like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, obviously there's an issue if they're penalizing one team more than the other, but...
Yeah. At the end of the day, as long as they're laying off on both sides or going on both sides, it creates an even playing field for sure. You showed this article to me. Atlanta Thrasher facts. What is it called? People are using the Atlanta Thrashers stats to roast NHL teams. Tell me about this.
So it happened once. One person on Reddit or something pulled a kind of a strange fact, and it was it's because the Buffalo Sabres haven't scored at the Staples Center in so long. So there's a fact. Someone tweeted the Atlanta Thrashers have scored at the Staples Center more recently than the Buffalo Sabres, which is kind of a crazy fact. But if you look at it, Sabres at the Staples Center in 2016, 2017, they played there once. They lost 2-0. They played there once last year. They lost 2-0. Actually, they've lost every year for the last 4 years 2-0. In the shortened season in 2012 and 2013, they didn't play there.
Okay.
And in 2011 and 2012, they played one of the games in Berlin, and they won 4-2, but that wasn't at the Staples Center. And then 2010, they didn't play at the Staples Center, and in 2009, they lost 4-3.
Wow.
If you look at when the Atlanta Thrashers last scored at the Staples Center, it was also in 2010, but it was like...
A little later.
9 months later, Chris Thorburn scored. So that kind of was like the beginning of the snowball that people started looking up facts. So it's like, the Calgary Flames haven't won at the Honda Center in so long.
Right.
The last time the Thrashers won was in 2010, and the last time the Flames won there was in 2004.
Wow.
Which is awful. But yeah, and then there's other facts. There's like the Atlanta Thrashers have more recently had a 30-goal score than the Detroit Red Wings. Thrashers in 2009-2010 had Ilya Kovalchuk. The Red Wings' last 30-goal scorer was Pavel Datsyuk in 2008-2009.
That's a nuts one. Because Datsyuk and Zetterberg have been relatively in their prime for that period of time. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I like this one. The Atlanta Thrashers have won in Chicago more recently than the Maple Leafs. By several years, the last Leafs win at the United Center is 2003, February 12, 2003, with the last Atlanta win in October 2007. Yeah, that's a great way to roast teams.
The Atlanta Thrashers have won in Chicago more recently than the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's nuts. Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy. Atlanta, great franchise. I think they made the playoffs once or something like that.
They're blue jerseys, though.
The blue jerseys. I'm into it.
Me
Yeah,
too.
it's unique. I
Really
like the
into
uniqueness. And those that Atlanta on the sleeve there. It's a beautiful jersey. Well,
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Saturday night, Eugene Melnyk, the owner of the Ottawa Senators. I can't wrap my head around this.
Mm-hmm.
They're I think it's in between the first and second period. Habs in Ottawa, and he says that there's this huge debate right now of whether NHLers are going to be playing in the Olympics or not. And personally, I want them to be there. Why not?
Yeah, and I think pretty much every single player unanimously really wants to go, and coaches largely understand. But again, not Melnyk.
It's crazy. They're so money hungry.
So what he said was, he was asked if he would let Erik Karlsson play for Sweden in the NHL if the NHL stays out of the games. And Melnyk said, no, it would be no, a flat out no. And I guess to give some context and play a little bit of devil's advocate here, his reason for being so concerned about that is because he feels like in 2006 when Ottawa had Hasek, and they felt like they had such a good team that could really contend for the cup. They let Hasek go to the Olympics, play for the Czech Republic, and he got injured, and they had to ride Emery for the rest of the season. And they got out in the second round, which is, I really like this quote that from him as well that said, "I had a cup in 2006 parked for me and waiting for me. We were arguing about whose names to put, who were going to go on the cup. We were there, and what happens? Hasek, I'm not going to do that." That's so presumptuous to be like, we were going to win the cup, and because of Hasek, we didn't. But yeah, that's a bold way to say that. But like, I get it as an owner. It's your team.
But it's like the nature of the sport. I mean, I understand that it's a business, but at the same time, it's the. I'm 25 years old. Ever since I can remember, it's like that is the best. That's the crown jewel of hockey. Like there's the Stanley Cup, and I don't think one's necessarily better than the other. Like I love my Stanley Cup playoffs. Don't get me wrong, but Olympic hockey, like I can tell you 5 hockey games off the top of my head that were just like one of the best hockey games I've ever seen. Yeah,
and I think we would both say what the most iconic game that we've ever witnessed, like in our lifetime, is. It's probably the 2010 Vancouver Gold Medal game.
Like how, like stars, that every player on the ice that game was a star. It went to overtime.
Yeah.
It was being played in Canada. Like biggest, like I think the Canada-USA rivalry might be bigger than any NHL rivalry.
I would say so. Yeah.
Like absolutely. It's nation versus nation.
Yeah.
And it's insane. It's insane to have the concept of Olympic hockey without NHL players.
Yeah. And this idea too that you're going to Korea, where you really want to build the game. Well, a lot of people want to build the game. The KHL is moving into there. And you're going to not bring the best talent in the world to help grow the game in such a huge market that really wants to. It's dumb from a business perspective in the long term. Sure, your team, someone's going to get injured, for sure.
And I think that's inevitable, though. Like, you go into the first round of the playoffs, you look at the Montreal Canadiens in 2013. Like, Carey Price goes down, and it's game over. Like,
yeah, that's just the reality of hockey. No, I get that.
So this is how I look at the situation. Ottawa is Ottawa. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad place to like play, but I don't think it's like, I don't think it has the best atmosphere in the league.
It's not a market that people are really like seeking to go to.
And they have a star-studded defenseman who happens to be Swedish, and he's up for a new contract in a couple seasons, and it's like
totally.
As a business owner, I think there's a concept of relationship building and making your players happy.
Totally.
And I don't think that I don't think that's how you do it.
He's not gonna have any leverage over this situation. Carlson's like, I don't care, I will go, and then I'll leave Ottawa. Like, you can't control me like that. There's no leverage on the owner's part to be like, you have to stay, because really,
this is my rebuttal to that. Washington Capitals owner Ted Lindsay, he went on record saying, Ovi wants to go to the Olympics. I'll make sure that happens.
Right. He understands. Yeah.
And it's like, so compare that. How do you think Ovi feels about playing the rest of his career in Washington compared to Karlsson wanting to play the rest of his career in Ottawa? Like, there has to be some kind of tension built there. And I know Karlsson's pretty good with the media, and he dodged that question where he was like, I don't want to, I want to go. We're working on it. We don't have to answer that question just yet. I know he, brushed it under the rug, but, there's a contrast, and there's definitely... As an owner, there's a strategy to kind of have your players back, and there's what's Ovi worth to the Washington Capitals?
Not just in the results, but the marketing and everything. To have that big of a player is a once in a generation opportunity.
To let your players go once every 4 years to keep them happy. Totally. I mean, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not a business dude, but there has to be some value in making your players happy and not using them as examples. Well, we saw shitty quotes to the media.
Yeah. We saw what happened with Marty St. Louis back last Olympics, where a way more minor situation, I would say, where he didn't get picked for the team only as an alternate. Yeah. And then, Stevie Yzerman being the general manager of Canada and the Lightning, he asked for a trade because they'd broken that relationship.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a way more that had a huge impact on the Lightning, and it was way more minor situations. So.
It's gonna be crazy what ends up happening. Like if they don't allow them,
Mm-hmm.
because if they don't allow them, Ovi said he's like, doesn't matter. Like I'm going to play the Olympics, so it's crazy to think of the scenario.
I'm sure a lot of people will do that.
Where what happens? What are the what are the repercussions? Are they that player
like a team suspension? Like
or do they just not play those games? Like are they just absent for 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's interesting.
It'll be really interesting.
And Sportsnet just posted an article today making a good point that Brad Marchand, who is in the conversation for Art Ross and Richard Trophy, which like that's crazy in itself. But anyways, he's in a position right now where he's a lock for Team Canada coming up. He hasn't been before. This is his first real chance to like prove himself, and he's not going to get that. And he's been quoted as like being quite pissed about that. Yeah. Understandably, he's saying it's not fair at all. And I mean that's how every player feels. Yeah. I'm sure there's other players that it's going to be their time. Like Austin Matthews is going to have his first chance.
McDavid just having more of having a role. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. I think McDavid playing for the Olympic team will be interesting because it'll be kind of the first time. Because if you look back at the international terms, it's been like the he's never played with he's never played with Crosby. He's never you know what I mean. Like in the World Cup, he was on the under 23 team. Sure, he was in the the juniors, but how dominant was he in the juniors? Like, so it'll be really I want to see McDavid play on a line with Crosby.
Yeah,
or something. You know what I mean?
One of them plays wing. Yeah. Absolutely, man. It's gonna happen, whether or not the NHL wants it to. We're gonna see more or less the best on best talent. I can't imagine a player seeing all these if Ovechkin says he's going, then Crosby's gonna say I'm gonna go too. Why not? Yeah. Ovechkin's going, and then that's gonna create a snowball effect. No one's gonna be like, well, I guess I have to stay because my owner told me. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it'll. Man, the fact that it's taking this long kind of kills me. But I really, really hope.
Yeah,
they make it to the Olympics.
Something will happen.
We'll see. Yeah. Anyways, you said earlier, big game tonight.
Yeah, big game for the Leafs. It's like I said, I think if they lose this game, they're gonna kind of be out of the window that they had of opportunity to get back into that Atlantic Division top 3 seeds. It's possible, but it becomes such a larger long shot. And then they're right in it if they can win this game. So it'll be really good. And at last podcast, we were talking about how they kind of stunk it up in California. And they went on a 4-1-1 run since that last podcast. So they put together some key wins they needed to. They had a bit of an easy schedule there. They played Carolina. They played Detroit. They played Philly. 3 games they should have won. And, they got a lot of points out of that. And then, obviously... There was a little blip in there, but they came back after that to the Lightning, and
you gotta for people who might not be in the total know, you gotta expand on that little blip.
The little blip, the 7-2 loss to the Florida Panthers, a very winnable game. Well, according to some pundits and fans, there was a little issue. They went on a little trip. While they were in Florida, a fishing trip, which no one's made this joke. Do you know what I'm going to say?
No.
Oh.
But I'm excited.
They were on a fishing trip. How did that, unless I haven't seen that, but it's the Leafs and they're on a fishing trip. It's a perfect.
For those who don't know, that's a tragically
if you're watching from outside of Canada, if you're watching from inside of Canada, you don't get that reference. It's shame.
Give your head a shake.
But yeah, they went on a fishing trip, and they posted to Instagram. I mean, this is a young team, young kids. They want to have their Instagram profile boosted. That's a reality. Totally. It's totally a social media savvy generation that's coming up as the young rookies. And so if they're on a fishing trip with the boys, they're gonna post photos. They want to wheel the Instagram models of the world and stuff. I don't know, but they do that, and it just creates bad optics at the end of the day. It wasn't that they weren't underprepared. It's just that it looks bad to be like, oh, I'm chilling, hanging out in Florida, and then you come get your ass handed to you the next day.
Definitely.
So I don't know. And they've been so adamant with all the media being like, this has nothing to do with the loss. And I believe that. If it did, if, like, say they were, getting drunk on the boat and then they were hungover the next day, they would own up to that.
All over again.
But, like, I'm sure that happens, like, more often than we hear about. But this isn't that case. You can tell, like, when Riley is questioned about it, like, in post-game. Yeah. He's like, he cuts the interviewer off. He'll say, no, that wasn't it at all.
Yeah.
Like, you would own up to that, I think, if that was the case.
And I think, and I don't watch a whole lot of Leafs, but from what I kind of gather being in Toronto, I do believe that they kind of understand the situation they're in. They're playing in hockey crazed Toronto, where you can go anywhere in the world, and you're 2 meters away from a Maple Leafs fan.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Totally.
So I do understand. Like I think they understand, like, kind of the gravity of the situation, where if they do kind of screw up on a Florida fishing trip, like they're gonna work together. They're gonna rally. They're gonna have each other's back. They're not gonna start
They've seemed to have built great team chemistry.
Yeah,
like, it seems like a great team.
Put it.
And I'm sure, when someone comes up for contract renewals and stuff with the Leafs, part of their thought process is, I could go play in Florida, and if I really want to be away from the spotlight, I go play hockey. I go, do the rest of my life in Florida. No one's going to notice me on the street. Very few people are going to notice me. You want to be the center of attention here to an extent, but you want what comes with that. You want that if you win, it's a huge deal. Like, there's a lot of pride in being able to win for the Leafs, especially given their past history. So, yeah, exactly what you said. I think it's a team that really understands that and wants to bond.
Now, this is also interesting. Something that I think is more of an issue this year. I shouldn't have said issue. More of a factor this year than any other time. The remaining schedule right now for a lot of teams is either very, very difficult or very, and I use the term easy lightly.
Yeah.
Not easy, but playing a larger stretch of non-playoff teams. As opposed to playing a longer stretch of playoff teams.
Yeah, and what we said about the games close to the end of the season meaning more, it kind of creates that disparity because it's throwing it off. It's like, those games are more valuable and they're higher pressure, and you have to step up. And if it's more of a cakewalk for you than another team, I don't know. It's based on kind of the context.
Like the Leaf schedule is tough.
It's tough. They play Washington. The last week they play Washington, Pittsburgh, and Columbus all within the same week. They have Tampa and Buffalo as well, but those are very winnable games. Who else do they play in this stretch? They play Columbus twice.
See, and that's crazy because if you look at the Habs schedule, no joke. So they just had their home with Ottawa, and and they play Ottawa again on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And Ottawa on Saturday is the only playoff team they play for the rest of the season.
That's nuts,
right?
So they're running away with the Atlantic. There's not a chance at this point.
So it's Detroit tomorrow night, Carolina later this week, Ottawa next week, Dallas, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Buffalo, Tampa, Detroit.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, there's you know what I mean? We talked about it earlier. It's like those, we are Saturday against Ottawa. That's going to be another example of that 4-point scenario. But, other than that, Montreal's cruising.
Totally. And another thing I've noticed, too, recently is that these teams in the Atlantic have heat up. Like, the last 10 record for Montreal, 8-2. Ottawa is 6-2-2. Not too bad. Boston 7-3 in their last 10. These are teams that people were talking about what a weak division this was before. They're heating up at the right time. And I don't think that they should be written off, any of those teams at all, for making a bit of a run in the East here. Obviously, Pittsburgh, Columbus, and Washington are behemoths and incredibly talented. And I think they're still going to run away with... They're going to walk out of the East, one of them. But there's something to be said here about these teams getting hot at the right time. So we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really interested to see just Habs, how they finish with it.
Yeah.
With maybe just a little bit less pressure than, let's say, the Leafs. Leafs are on the bubble. They play out. They have a lot of these hard games where the Habs are,
they don't have to exhaust themselves.
And I think they have a little bit of time to, tinker with some things before entering the playoffs.
Yeah. How are they looking right now in terms of the new additions they have after the trade deadline, like Ben?
I can't say enough awesome things about Ben. That was a clear upgrade. The pattern in a third. Pattern was like a fringe defender. He might have a good game, 1 in every 5 games. Makes more mistakes than not.
Yeah.
I liked him and I was rooting for him, but man, Ben, perfect example. Like, he gave the puck up against Pajot, and Pajot is like a Habs killer. Like 2 hat tricks. He scores shorthanded all the time against the Habs. And it was like textbook how to stop a breakaway. Like, he read exactly where, right before he like transferred the puck to his forehand, he read that. He was just a step ahead of him, lifted the stick, and it was like, it wasn't even like tricky. It was such a clear takeaway.
Yeah.
Can't say enough good things about Ben. He's an everyday player. We went from expendable player to an everyday player. So I'm really happy about that. Paul Byron. Oh man.
Yeah.
He came into this season with 26 career goals, and he scored his 20th goal last night.
Jeez.
Which is like, and it's crazy. and I just read, I didn't know this, but he was picked up. Everyone knows he was picked up off the waiver wire from Calgary. But something I didn't know, and Eric Engels tweeted it earlier today. Okay. Montreal's the only team who put in a waiver claim for him, which blows my mind.
Wow. See, these two things, like Ben and Byron, those are the types of additions you need to make as a playoff team. You're not reshifting your roster. You're just adding these complementary, and I think significantly complementary too. 20 goals is not anything to laugh at.
But that's like Bergevin's, like, that's his strong suit of a GM. Like, he gets those bargain secondary scoring.
Right.
He essentially exchanged the third line or the fourth line at the deadline for just bigger, badder, more grittier players, and it's like it's working. Steve Ott, who at first I was really disappointed by that signing, because I've never been an Ott fan, but he's insane in the dot, and he goes out there, wins a face-off. He's out there for 15 seconds, comes off, Chucky goes on, great, because Chucky sucks at face-offs. But I spoke about it at the last podcast. You just got to trust the system. Yeah, and like I just said, we do have enough time to kind of play with some lines, some deep pairings. Emelin had a really shit game against the Blackhawks last week. He was on the ice for all 3 goals. He kind of slipped up on all 3 goals, and it's rare to kind of like assume that someone lost the game for you, but that's probably one of the clearest games of one player.
You could see in those plays where they got the goals, it was part of that.
So he got benched. He came back last night and he played a pretty good game. But it's like things like that I feel pretty good about, where we're coming into the playoffs. We have a little bit of time, a slight luxury of testing some different deep pairings out, because we definitely need it.
Well, it's not the end of the world if Montreal loses that first spot in Atlantic, because they're either playing, likely at this point they're playing New York, who's a beast of a team themselves. So it's okay to drop that spot if you want. You don't try for that, but it's not an issue. Yeah, you're not worried. You can tinker. You can make sure everyone's in a playoff mindset when they go into it.
But it was a good weekend against Ottawa. Like, a home and home, like, you don't get much better than Montreal and Ottawa home and home over a weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Making a statement though, taking 4 points out of that weekend, giving up 1. Dominant play. I watched both games. Both games were good tilts, a lot of back and forth, lots of chances. Goalies played well. Both goalies, worth noting, both goalies played the back-to-back. They didn't go to their backups, which is interesting. It's first time this season that Price has played back-to-back, because I know they've been a little wary with
that can be risky,
his usage.
Totally.
But I mean, that's what I mean, though. It's like that 4 point, like, obviously. So Rangers are probably, whoever wins the Atlantic probably faces the Rangers.
Yep.
Rangers are at Carey Price's mercy. So I think Bergevin, that's a move showing how confident he is in wanting to win the division and wanting to play the Rangers. I think that was a solely we don't want Ottawa to take that number 1 spot for us. Carey Price plays 2 nights in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, that sends a message.
Totally.
Sends a message to the Rangers. They're gonna be a little worried now.
Yeah, and if that weekend was anything, like, we had really good for the first time, kind of, I feel like that for the first time 2 games in a row, like we've had, the one-offs, good games, but 2 games in a row, first time in a long time I've said this, where things are clicking.
Yeah.
Secondary scoring's there, the big guys are playing well. Carey Price is, people were worried about Carey Price a month ago. He's clicking, if this weekend against Ottawa was anything to come, I'm excited. That it was good pace. It was a playoff setting. I liked what I saw.
It's getting hot at the right time. Like, you look at a team like Minnesota, for example, who's been dominant all year. Dubnyk looking like he's running away with the Vezina, and now they're 2-8 in their last 10.
And losing 5 games in a row right before the playoffs, like, that's worrisome.
That's very worrisome. Especially when they're not going to come up against Chicago in the first round, but if they make it to the second round, they're going to have to play their arch nemesis, this team that's had their number every single playoffs round, more or less. And that's very concerning to see. And Chicago being as hot as they are at the right time as well, winning 5 in a row.
Totally. It's crazy how, and like, I mean, this is a recurring theme this episode, but like, just getting hot at the right time and like getting on a roll right at the end of the season,
absolutely.
like that can be huge.
Yep.
Look at Tampa. Tampa's on the bubble. Stamkos has been practicing, and he's gonna come back soon. Like, is that a
It's a little worrisome.
Is that a game changer? Like,
I guess they try to rush him if the playoffs are on the line to get back in, but
like, they're not far. They're 6 points. They have a game in hand.
Yeah.
Like 11 games out. Like, they string together 2 hot streaks.
It's true.
They could be pressing.
If the Islanders or Tampa get hot, then the Leafs are in big trouble. But the Leafs have a huge advantage right now, and that could go away again, but who knows? They have the game in hand, and they have 1 point over the Islanders, 2 point over Tampa Bay. I feel quite confident, and Stamkos coming back, is a little concerning, but he's still got to get back into the full game-ready condition. That's going to take a little while.
Yeah.
They're running out of time to really get fully ramped up to being as dangerous of a team as they can be.
A team that I always look out for kind of at this time of the year, because I feel like they can be, they can have a shit season, and they're always going to be in the conversation, the LA Kings.
Yeah.
LA Kings right now are 6 points out with 11 games to play, and it's like, could you imagine if the LA Kings went on a hot streak and pushed Nashville, Nashville missed the playoffs?
That would suck.
Like, what does that say about the Johansson Seth Jones trade? What does that say about the Weber Subban trade?
They made such huge moves to make a run for it and be a real powerhouse, and they get knocked out. Yeah,
like,
it'd be terrible.
And that could happen. Like, the LA Kings, they are a playoff team. The year they won the cup most recently, they squeaked into the playoffs.
Right.
They're always in it, and this is the kind of this is the time of the season that they play for.
Yeah. They're used to it. They're experienced. Yeah. It's already kind of looked like I don't want to say a failure of the season for Nashville, but the fact that they're a bubble team when I think the way they were being built in the past season was to really contend and be a powerhouse.
Yeah.
It doesn't look great.
And it's that time of year. It's that time of year where 2 points means a lot.
Oh yeah.
And those 2 points, it can come you can lose those 2 points at a bad call, a bad offside call, a bad no goal call, a bad goalie interference call, or no call, the lack of call.
Yep.
And I think we're starting to see it. I think we saw it this weekend.
Some interesting offside calls.
We saw it in the Leafs and Hawks game. And this is interesting.
Okay. What do you think about this?
It's interesting to me. It's Hawks in both example.
Yeah, in one weekend. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, there's been.
I don't know how.
They get an outdoor game. They get an outdoor game every year. They get the New Jersey every year. Yeah. They get I don't know.
They get the best calls.
Get the best call. I don't know.
Yeah. So this first example, the Leafs and Hawks. Hawks win it in OT on an interesting thing we don't see a lot. They're coming in on a 2-on-1 in overtime, and the way. Who was it that actually crossed the line with the puck?
Panik?
Yeah, I think Panik.
Panik was one of them. I can't remember who was
Yeah.
the first example or second.
Whoever it was, if it was Panik, basically went over the line with his skate before he did with the puck, which looks offside by what a lot of people would think. But if you technically look at the rules, it says a player actually controlling the puck who shall cross the line ahead of the puck shall not be considered offside, provided they had possession and control of the puck prior to his skates crossing the blue line. So it's totally within the rules, but
Yeah.
it looks interesting. Like you said, it's 2 calls for the Hawks that are close.
I read so much
Weekend.
banter on Twitter and on Reddit and on TSN this weekend and on everywhere. Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think it all kind of comes down to the definition of possession. So some people don't know this, but you could technically you could skate backwards over the blue line with the puck. If your puck and people can do that. NHLers surely can.
Right.
Puck handle over the blue line, skating backwards. That's fine. As long as you have control. So what people didn't like on the second example was the definition of possession. So you could look at it in 2 ways. You could look at it if the puck was glued to the stick. So possession.
Right. Which is exactly what the Leafs and Hawks one was. So it was pretty textbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you skate across the line, you have possession, and then the tag up, if one comes before the other, that changes the call.
Yeah.
But if you change the definition of possession, so if you treat it, instead of treating as if he has possession, but if he's treating like a long dump in, but the dump in is only, let's say he's dumping it quite literally over the blue line.
Yeah.
Technically, it's very close to his stick. You could say he has possession.
Right.
But if you look at it like he's dumping it in, it's a fair play.
Right.
The puck's over the line, his skates are behind the line, and he doesn't enter the zone until Taves tags up.
Right.
So it's, on one hand, if you apply the backward skating rule, where you can cross the line whichever first,
Right.
to say you're in possession.
Yep.
But if you apply it kind of in a different context, then that's where kind of eyebrows get raised. It's like, that doesn't look like it's onside to me. Which it does. It totally depends kind of how you look at it and which rule you prefer, I guess. I don't know.
And I mean, at that point, is it almost like this is the context of the situation? Like in the Hawks and Avs game, he had possession, I guess, got fed the puck at the point, but his skates were across the blue line on the other side. Realistically speaking, he's in control at all points, but technically he's offside.
Yeah, so it's that time of season where these calls, at one point or another, these calls are going to determine teams' fates, whether they play A team or B team, or if they make the playoffs or don't. And it's
could be if someone wins a cup, That's what happened. Sabres and Stars back in ¡99. My former favorite team, the Buffalo Sabres. I remember that game. I was in grade 5 maybe. And my mom said I had to go to bed. It was an overtime game 6, Stanley Cup Finals. And I was a big Sabres fan at that point. And I went to bed, woke up in the morning, asked my dad, how did the game go? He's like, oh, well, they lost. And then I see it afterwards, and I go, what? I mean, everyone did. How could this possibly have been called the way it did? But this could happen with offsides. Who knows? The stakes are that high, potentially.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of year in hockey, but it's also a frustrating time of year,
depending on what
to say the least.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, have we covered everything? How are we doing for time?
Yeah, I think we're okay. We have a few minutes.
A few minutes?
Should we? We had some questions. You want to go through them? Instagram?
Oh, we got questions.
We got a couple.
People are watching.
People are watching.
Okay.
Let's take a couple questions.
Yeah, for anyone that's listening back, we decided to broadcast on Instagram Live just to see how it goes. If you don't follow us on Puck Talk on Instagram,
you should.
You should. It's Puck Talk Show. Go find it. We'll probably try this again. I think
we'll try it again.
Went well. Yeah.
All right, first question. Who's going to win the Metro?
Ooh. Let's take a
You tell me.
I really don't know.
The 3 best teams right now in hockey are all in the Metro. I would say if,
I personally don't understand how Columbus is as good as they are still, even though they're red hot right now and are tied with Washington.
I think Pittsburgh takes it. You know, Pittsburgh, Sidney Crosby's like the best player in hockey right now, like for sure this year. He's so dominant. Just had a hat trick. First guy to 40 goals.
Yeah.
I think I go with Pittsburgh.
I agree. And I think they're cup favorites too. So I agree with you. No, I'm not going to be, what's it called? Counter. Ooh, what's it called? Damn it. I don't know what the word is. Never mind. Next question.
Who should the Canucks next head coach be? Michel Therrien or Ken Hitchcock?
Hitchcock's retiring though, isn't he? Like,
I don't think his retirement went as planned.
He's ready for some more.
I think he could go for some vengeance.
I like Hitchcock. I don't know, but I can't see him coming back.
But yeah.
Therrien though?
You know how I don't need to say how I don't think Tyrion's gonna coach in the NHL.
Is there really no one else like available on the market right now?
There surely is. There's
Gallant.
Jordan
Gallant.
Yeah, I like him.
I think
he
that's
shouldn't
a great
have gotten
choice.
let go. The old coach of Calgary, Bob Hartley.
Oh yeah.
You know,
probably others. A lot of people got fired this year and didn't get rehired. Mike
Jack,
Yao? Or no, he's St. Louis going.
Jack Capuano.
Yep. He's around.
Oh,
Patrick Waugh.
man.
Who's more likely to get hired first, Waugh or Therrien?
All right. For teams like the Pens with multiple stars selected for the Olympic teams, i.e. Letang, Malkin, Crosby, Murray.
Murray?
I think he'd be third goalie. He's going to be the third goalie in the next Olympics for Team Canada. For sure.
Interesting.
Price, Holtby,
I guess
Murray.
I can see it. Yeah, because I guess Smith lost it.
For teams like the Pens who have multiple stars selected for the Olympic teams, do you think it'll have a major effect on records in the NHL? Well, hopefully we don't have to answer this question because NHL players are allowed to go to the Olympics.
That's true. That is a lot of games.
And like, it's just such a can of worms. Like,
yeah.
if you're an owner and you don't let your what's that value? You're worried about like losing money in the long run, but in the short run, like, what if you lose? I don't know how many games they'd play over 3 weeks, like 3, 6, 9, 10 games over 3 weeks.
Yeah.
8 to
about
12
that
games.
maximum, I would say. Yeah.
Like, you lose 10 games in a row.
Yeah. That's true. That's
and then
tough.
and in turn that would affect on you'd see a really cool thing happen across the league where you see a lot of prospects and rookies get their first kind of real ice time at the NHL.
I think you're going to see more stats parity. The record thing might be a thing, but it will also be cool to see that.
See a rookie run away with
Yeah. What if that causes the scoring race to be really tight at the end of the season? It's like Crosby's up and running against this guy that got an opportunity during the Olympic break. That'd be awesome. Yeah. I want to see that. I don't care about records being broken. No one's going to break, Gretzky's single season record.
But to have every star in the NHL just to miss.
That's pretty cool.
12 games.
Okay, now I'm into that. Because that was kind of a downside, but it's kind of cool to see. Meanwhile, in the NHL,
you'd see a cool trend. You'd see a really cool trend happen league wide.
For sure.
All right, last question. Stanley Cup final predictions.
Oh wow, it's probably gonna change between now and the end of the regular season, but I'm gonna say
Montreal, Calgary.
Wow. I mean that's a cool one. I'd be into that. That's not what's going to happen. I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go with the boring answer, Pittsburgh, Chicago.
Oh, get out of here.
It's going to be. You know it.
All right. I want to see Montreal, Calgary, or Ottawa, Minnesota.
I want to see Edmonton.
Ooh,
that would be
sick.
Cool.
McDavid's run show.
Yeah, totally. Carries the team on his back.
All right, and that's it for Instagram Live questions.
All right. Well, I guess we should wrap it up here. Okay, that's it. Thanks for listening, everyone. And thanks again to Tattoo Sound and Music. Go check them out at ta2music.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Puck Talk Show. We post lots of daily content, especially on the Instagram. And we'll be back soon. Talk to you later.